Are you ready to create a life you crave? Let's spin that doom loop of negativity into an upward success cycle and start living lucky.
Good morning.
I'm Jana.
I'm Jason.
And we are living lucky.
You are too.
We feel so blessed because the right people come into our path at the right time, at the right place. And that's not by our doing.
No, that's divine intervention.
Or is it?
Is it?
It's a co-creation.
It is a co-creation. So there has to be action involved.
Thoughts, feelings, and actions. Thoughts, feelings, and actions. When we have good thoughts and we raise our vibration, we tune in to something higher, and it never fails. Trust me on this. The universe, God, will take you to exactly who you need to meet. You will learn the lessons you need to learn at exactly the right time.
Yeah, and sometimes it's, are you focused on what you want, or are you finding what you don't want? Because sometimes what we do is we say, I'm not finding the things that I want, because we're so specific on this is exactly what I want. And the universe says, I've got something bigger and better planned for you.
Yes. And that's what happened when our intention last week was to take some hats that Jason had bought on some site because they were cheap.
Yeah, well, I bought the hats wholesale because I'd been buying hats resale as merchandise for Living Lucky.
In other words, we wanted merch. We wanted some Living Lucky merch with some cute little bananas that we could meet people and say, hey, here you go. You're living lucky too.
And if you've ever had a business and you bought something wholesale to give away, then or you bought retail to give away, you realize, hey, I'm buying something at a very high price and giving it away. Well, buying it wholesale, then you can give away more.
Okay, we're giving you way too much information. What happened was we went to have this merch monogrammed and embroidered. And we met this woman named Leyla, Stitches with Leyla.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, it's like my soul is gravitating toward people who are spiritually gifted, because as soon as we met her, I just knew. I'm like, she's got something special.
Well, you always say energy is contagious.
Energy is contagious, and I can feel it. And I'm not saying that I'm a psychic or clairvoyant. For some reason, I magnetize toward people who are also very in tune to energies and spirituality.
And I would say also her joy and appreciation and gratitude, those were some of her highest values, and love. And those values highly align with your values.
So we get there and we're telling her what we want on our hats. We want this little banana, living lucky. And she starts telling us about her life and her story. Everyone has a story.
Yeah.
Everyone has a life story. And whether or not we are open to hearing it, most of the time we're not, because we're busy being busy. So we're going about our lives. And a lot of times, I mean, think about it in your own life. Are there times when you're like, you know what? I'd love to hear your story, but I got to pick up the kids at soccer. Am I right?
Yes.
Or am I right?
Yeah, and I want to touch back to everyone has a story.
Yes.
I think we all have two stories. We all have a story of appreciation of how we got to where we are.
Yes.
And then also we have a story of depreciation. Sometimes we tell ourselves a story that's disempowering.
Jason, that's brilliant. Did you just make that up?
Well, I hear it a lot of times from clients, that the story that gets them stuck, that gets them in that position where this happened to me instead of this happened for me.
It's tuning in to the lower
yes.
radio station
Yeah.
is what it's doing, instead of tuning into the highest best version of yourself station.
Yeah, and we hear this over and over again in our conversation with Leyla, where she says, I look for the rainbows. I look for when the sun's coming out. I look for the holes in the cloud.
I mean, as
Like
soon
the
as we
cloud's
walked
there.
in, yeah, as soon as we walked in the store, she was like, look at that beautiful sunrise. And I was like, wow. Yes, let's stop and let's look at the
Let's have
sunrise.
appreciation for the things, because that's another thing that we talk about often is what we appreciate appreciates. And we can always nitpick things.
Yes.
But if we look for what we appreciate,
Yes.
then we get to grow in the appreciation.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little pre-shadow.
Pre-framing?
Yeah, a little foreshadowing. That's the word I'm looking for, of what we learned about her. She came from Turkey. She was a single mom. She had 2 kids. She gets over here. She needs to make a living. Her education as a lawyer
Doesn't
granted
transfer. Yeah.
here in the US. And so she goes to step B or plan B, plan C. She opens an embroidery business, and stitch by stitch, she is making it. And what's so fabulous about her story is that her kids are now living out the future that she had when she was a child. Really, the dreams that she had as a child didn't come to fruition through her, but her highest value has been being a mother. So actually they did.
Yeah, and I think when she gave birth, she had a dream of this beautiful, wonderful life of love and cherishing her children.
Yes.
And that really, I got goosebumps because that really just kind of flourished.
Yes.
And her children are both successful. One graduated at Princeton, went on to the Armed Forces, is working in DC right now.
Yes.
The other went on to the University of Florida, and is just, it's a powerful relationship. Seeing pictures of them and their love and their joy is just exciting. And just
Yes.
watching her beam and glow over this
Yeah.
is incredible.
It's making me beam and glow right now. Like just talking about her, I saw you go from this, let me tell you about Leyla, to all of a sudden you're like, yeah, she's beaming and glowing.
Well, and
Energy is contagious.
And it also shows in her work. Like just when she interacts with customers, when she interacts with just putting the stitches in the fabric.
No, can I just tell you something? So Jason actually suggested in the middle of the interview, I've been around a lot of sewing, a lot of fabric, a lot of quilting, and what we see on the outside is not usually what's on the backside. She gets out her work and says, oh, no, Mr. Jason.
I pay so much attention to the backside as well.
Which is another lesson that we can learn, because when we clean up our inner selves, it shows outwardly.
Yeah.
And I felt like when you brought up that idea, you were actually thinking about taking the story into a different direction. And she was like, but no, that's not the truth. The truth is my outward appearance is exactly
matches my inner story of myself.
And that is living lucky, because you are aligning your desires with your decisions, with your divine design.
That's changing the inner story. That's changing those 2 stories.
Yes.
That's cleaning up the knotted fabric, because a lot of times we think people don't know the real me. They don't know what I've been through. Well, you know what? If you're telling people you don't know what I've really been through,
yeah,
it's because you haven't gone deeper and said, how did I grow? How did I get resilience? How did I get this tenacity? How did I learn to love deeper and more fully?
Yes.
Like how did I see the bigger layers? And that's where you can start trimming that fabric on the inside of the quilt and say it's not naughty. It's clean and
And
perfect.
when he says naughty, he's not talking like
it's
dirty, stinky.
It's KNOT.
TY.
Yeah.
It's not naughty.
Yeah.
Ooh. That makes me think,
NAUGHTY.
oh my gosh, we're going to like,
Bow chicka bow wow.
yeah, right? We're going to see it all today. It was a fabulous discussion. I also loved the fact that her life has manifested, and she intentionally took steps along the way. She tells us a story about when her first son was born, she took the umbilical cord and she had it sent to Princeton University
To be buried.
There because
This is where I'm planting this idea.
Education was such a dream of hers, and she wanted that for her children. And what's so fascinating is that her son went to Princeton University.
And on scholarship. So, and
that's not an easy feat.
The Leyla story really, it comes down to
Layla.
Got me on my knees.
Got me on my knees.
So there's
Layla.
a lot to it. And a lot of it comes down to those upper vibration, like the higher frequency feelings.
Yes.
And belief.
It's what you believe is your reality. And she just goes to show that the adversity that she has faced in her life, she literally came to America as an educated lawyer. And then all of a sudden she doesn't have a way to make a living because her law degree isn't valid in the US. She doesn't have the money to go back to college. She has 2 children at that point. She's a single mom and she's got bills to be paid. Now, there's so many people that could live in resentment,
doubt, disbelief, uncertainty,
and say, you know what? Why did we come here? America is not the place of land of opportunity.
Yeah. There's all this room for U-turns, and what it is, belief is the ability to have the awareness of catching that feeling, catching that thought, and saying, no. What is the frequency I want to be in?
Yes.
What is the frequency that is truer to me, that lifts me and pulls me forward?
Yes.
And that is where she stayed.
Yes.
So she had that.
We're having a pep rally here. I don't know if you can see us.
So she had that wherewithal to catch the thought instead of feeding it.
Catch the thought and then match the emotion to that.
Oh, yes.
Am I right?
Yeah. Feed the thought that you want to grow into.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. So feed the belief. Feed the right belief. I
want to introduce this woman to the world. When we left, I said, what is your dream? What is your dream now? Now that your kids are being successful and they are falling in love and doing all of those wonderful things that she wanted for them, what is Layla's dream? And she said, I'm thinking about writing a book. And she said it very meek and small. And I said, yes.
Yes.
That needs to be Layla's next step because her life is fascinating and she's full of such wisdom, especially spiritually. She is spiritually gifted.
And a dream is bigger than self. Like it's bigger than this is for me. She wants to help people. Like that's her thing is she wants to help people live a bigger, better, more fulfilling life.
Yes.
And giving the thoughts that she has, the way she goes about things, that is a way to help more people live lucky.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Jason. What you give to the world comes back to you tenfold. There's something to be said about karma, and that's law of attraction right there. It's law of attraction, law of vibration, and the Nike law, which is just do it.
And it's the law of living lucky. Let's keep living lucky.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Keep living lucky.
If the idea of living lucky appeals to you, visit us at startlivinglucky.com.